Infiniti Q30 review. The premium brands conjured up by Japanese manufacturers in the 1980s to sell more cars in the US have proven remarkably averse to global success. Carlos Ghosn's bright idea, formulated, one imagines, not long after he considered canning Nissan's luxury wing entirely, of turning Infiniti into the Japanese BMW has still not gained serious traction in Europe, despite a wholesale rebranding of the lineup. Nevertheless, the Q30 demonstrates a more cogent step forward in the strategy. The Q30 is a premium compact hatchback, crucial fodder in Europe if you wish to generate meaningful sales volume, and a direct product of the wide-ranging partnership that Renault-Nissan sealed with German giant Daimler several years ago. So rather than employing the CMF-CD platform that underpins both the Nissan Pulsar and the Renault Megane, the Q30 is underpinned, quite overtly in places, as we'll see, by the same architecture used by the Mercedes A-Class. Something that is transferred over to the QX30, which is a raised Q30 essentially, with Infiniti looking to tap into the lucrative premium compact SUV craze. Additionally, the new models are the first Infinitis to be built in Europe, specifically at Nissan's Sunderland plant, which has been expanded for the purpose. Like the platform, the engines are inherited from Daimler, apart from the 1.5-liter diesel, which, while used in the A-Class, will be familiar to many as Renault's workmanlike diesel. For the purposes of this test, however, we'll focus on the 120 bhp 1.6-liter petrol motor, mated to a standard 6-speed manual gearbox. The range is completed with a 2.0-liter petrol and a 2.2-liter diesel units. At 20,550 pounds and lower-end SE trim, the new model counts everything from a Ford Focus to an Audi A3 as a potential rival. That's a steep face to climb when you consider that the A-Class, even with the buoyancy aid of Mercedes' established desirability, was not met with universal acclaim upon introduction. To even go one better would be some achievement for comparative newcomer Infiniti. Infiniti, perhaps empowered by the fact that the hard work underneath had already been done, has been rather bold with the Q30's exterior. This approach is to be applauded, with the design of premium family hatches in general having sunk to a benign and unassuming level. So even with this decidedly Euro-focused model, the Japanese car maker has imported what it considers to be its own muscular aesthetic, sacrificing the depth of its rear glass in the pursuit of a coupe-like silhouette, despite the car's naturally upright stance. The result, which vividly illuminates the perils of being bold in this area, is that half of our testers professed to be fond of the Q30, while the other half considered its many angles an overwrought hatchet job compared with its Mercedes template. C'est la vie. Infiniti must have thought it was on safer ground with the chassis. But the A-Class's problem, trumpeted from the rooftops at its debut, was that it rode in an uncompromising fashion. While sticking with the same layout of front McPherson struts and a multi-link rear, the Q30's engineers reportedly labored through 50 variations of bump and rebound damper rates before seizing upon a setting. But Infiniti's use of adjectives such as forgiving and comfortable leave the reader in no doubt about in which direction their idea of a premium hatch ought to go. That said, the manufacturer has left itself some dynamic wiggle room. Single-minded drivers may still opt for the sport model, which, although expensive, gets a ride lowered by 20 mm and a more tacked-down dynamic. Either way, the Q30 is steered via a speed-sensitive, electromechanical rack, also a Mercedes donor part, and powered by either a 1.6-liter turbo petrol engine, available in 120 bhp and 154 bhp guises, or one of two diesels, a 108 bhp 1.5-liter unit or a 168 bhp 2.1. The range is topped by a 208 bhp 2.0-liter petrol unit, the bigger brother of the 1.6, sharing the same piezo direct injection and die-cast aluminum crankcase. Mercedes' 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission is doubtless the gearbox Infiniti feels best suits its chosen image, although the 6-speed manual, as tested, is the standard option for the majority of Q30s. All-wheel drive is available with larger engines and higher trims but comes exclusively with the dual clutch box. Infiniti's turbocharged 1.6-liter petrol-engined Q30 plays an important role in the model range, filling the yawning gap between the 108 and 168 bhp diesels, and filling it reasonably well. Against the clock, the Q30 accelerates from rest to 60 miles per hour in 9.4 seconds, making it almost exactly as quick as most of its closest German rivals. It also has enough low and mid-range torque, and sufficiently well-balanced gearing, to manage the 30 to 70 miles per hour fourth-gear sprint in just a smidge over 15 seconds, almost 2 seconds quicker than a BMW 118i. More important, the Q30 manages that performance level without breaking much of a sweat. That 1.6-liter motor is generally smooth and quiet everywhere except at very high engine speeds, and it does its work smartly and without fuss. Our noise meter had the car at an advantage of several decibels versus a BMW 118i at a 50 miles per hour cruise, with road noise being as well smothered as engine thrum. So, although it's not as economical as it might be, which we'll come to, it's a hard engine to fault in simple objective terms. And yet the turbocharged motor seems oddly sluggish on first acquaintance, as a result of particularly strange accelerator pedal response, which seems to reserve about 50% of engine power for the last 10% of the pedal's travel. It's not immediately clear if it's done in the interests of smoothness or economy, but the biggest impact is on drivability, which is far from all it might be. Those who want to drive the car around as gently as possible might just appreciate Infiniti's thinking, but to everyone else, we suspect, it'd be a source of irritation. That the Q30's manual gear change feels a bit slack and underdefined, and the brakes slightly over-assisted, only adds to the impression that the car's driving experience hasn't quite been finished to as high a standard as premium brand customers may reasonably expect.